Welcome, y'all. It's Wes with DIY Food Plot Pro. Thank you so much for joining us. Today's episode, we're talking about spring plots. These are plots that we are fixing to plant coming up here really soon. A lot of us are making plans to plant these plots, and we're trying to figure out what do we plant, what do we have the most success with on our farms. And I'm standing out in one of my food plots from last year, and I've got a stand of cereal grains behind you. They look really solid. And then we've got about 3 to 3.5 acres of standing corn behind us here. This is kind of a tale of two different years, where last year we came down here, there was a tremendous amount of corn left over. And a lot of the big food plotters were saying, hey, you know what? They didn't eat my corn this year. They didn't eat my soybeans this year. I'm switching up. I'm trying new plots. Well, we had a surplus of white oak acorns last year, which are the most preferred food source for whitetails. I stuck to my guns, and I realized that over the years, corn has been one of my very best food plots, and I stuck to it. And as you pan out through here, out of 3.5 acres of corn, I bet there's less than a quarter acre out there left, which is absolutely perfect, because now I'm not going to have to deal with a lot of that Roundup ready corn seed that's going to try to germ up next spring. But I've also got enough food to get these deer to spring green up, which is the perfect mixture of what you're looking for. The cereal grains have really been grazed super duper hard. This cereal grain is 100% no-till, not no-till drill. We came in late September simply with the Can-Am and a spreader on the back of the Can-Am, knocked the corn down and sowed the cereal grains right before a good rainstorm. We got a great stand of cereal grains, and it's really provided a lot of wintertime food for the whitetails. But as we get into this spring planting season, I want to encourage you to plant something for the whitetails that feeds them 365 days out of the year. A lot of folks want to plant clovers, they want to plant fall plots, they want to plant spring plots, but very few folks are planting all of the above on the properties and giving these whitetails the nutrition that they need 365 days a year. We all know, and it's been well documented, how important it is for the fawns are born, for the does, quality nutrition all the way through the bucks growing their rack. Then we all know how crucial wintertime is for whitetails, especially when we don't have the food sources on the farms needed to sustain that deer herd. I do a lot of hunting consultations through the wintertime, and through these farm visits, I've seen so many different farms where people set up summer food or they set up winter food, but they don't have that full package of planting something for these whitetails for the entire year. And it's such a valuable and important part of that whitetail's life. This food source right here is unbelievable. The amount of tracks, the amount of turds, it is unbelievable how much deer sign is in and around this food plot. And this is a bigger food plot. This is about a 4 to 4.5 acre food plot. And I planted every single bit of it into standing corn, went back and added cereal rye, oats, turnips, and annual clovers to this plot in the fall. But this is really a super good attraction for these whitetails, and that's really going to get your whitetails off to a much better start in the following year. It is such a critical thing to have food for these whitetails 365 days a year. The less that these animals can be stressed at any point during the year is better for them. Anything that we can do to lower that stress on those whitetails is a good thing, no matter if it's a spring, summer, fall, or winter. So what I try to do on these farms, and I try to do on my farms that I've got set up for the deer hunting, and then I set up for my clients' properties who I'm consulting for, is I'm trying to provide year-round nutrition. And generally that's starting with something that greens up very quick in the spring. I want something that's hitting the ground running. As soon as we start getting into 60, 70 degree temperatures, I want something greening up. Doesn't have to be a huge plot, but it needs to be something greening up quick. And then I follow that with my summer annuals. So that's going to be my corn, my soybeans, my sunflowers, things like that that are going to be of benefit to me in the fall and the winter time for hunting. But they're also going to cover the soil, and then we're providing for those whitetails, whether it's through the high protein of something like the soybeans, the cowpeas, the sunflowers, or if in the case of the corn, then we are providing later in the fall and the winter time during this time right here, where it's so critical for these whitetails to have food on the ground. So many people overlook the entire picture of whitetail nutrition. They think I've got a half acre of cereal grains here, I'm in good shape. You go out into their forest and it's wide open. Woody browse makes up 46% of a whitetail's diet in the wintertime. So you can't have one and not the other. You have to have a balance over the entire farm of quality nutrition 365 days a year. It makes a huge difference in the farms that I see that have this versus the farms that I see that don't have this. And the majority of the farms are not set up to have quality nutrition throughout the entire year. There's always a period in that late summer, early fall period where protein levels are just dropping drastically. But whitetails are still keying in on high protein food sources. And those are great areas for us to plant, to have on our farms, to be able to target those bucks in the early season. So as we look towards 2025 and we're deciding what we're going to plant and we're going to try to decide where we're going to plant, I strongly recommend having multiple food sources on a farm. I hate going to a farm and talking to a landowner and they have 5 clover plots that are all the same. I did a visit this year in a big farm, great big farm, and literally the entire farm was planted in the exact same mix. And one of the first things I said to him was, how do you key in on what food plots are hot and what food plots are not? Right? So a whitetail's diet is constantly changing. If it's 75, 80 degrees during November, this corn's not going to be where they're going to be. They're going to be on the greens. They're going to be on the clovers. They're going to be on the oats. They're going to be on the cereal rye, the winter wheat, things like that. They're not going to be in these grains such as corn and soybeans when it's 75, 80 degrees. You flip that around and it's 20 degrees and they are going to be in this standing corn, standing soybeans. That's what they're going to be hitting the hardest during those colder times. But a whitetail's diet is constantly changing. It's one thing that I've really noticed on the 2,900 acres is seeing from trail cam pictures, you can see these different plots will get hot for 2 or 3 days, maybe a week. Weather changes, this plot all of a sudden starts getting all the activity. And so if you just have one plot on the farm, then it's very difficult for you to pattern those bucks, make that really good for hunting, where you can say, I've got a very good chance of going to this stand this evening and killing a mature buck, rather than just trying to take a guess and going to, well, this spot's always been a good spot in November, I'm going to go hunt here. If you need help setting up your deer hunting farms, I've got a website set up, www.DIYFoodPlotPro. You can go there, you can click on contact us or boots on the ground visit. Send me an email, I will get in contact with you. I do have a few very limited amount of availability left for this spring season. So if that's something that you are wanting to get done, get with me in the next 3 to 4 weeks and I will get you on the list and we will get your farm knocked out this spring. We'll get you a plan set up for habitat for the food plots and you will be ready to rock in 2025. So if that's something that interests you, you can go to www.DIYFoodPlotPro.com. Thank you guys so much for watching. Smash that like and subscribe button.